Gumby is a series that has been around for over half a century and has become an icon for stop-motion animation, spawning 2 shows, various pieces of merchandise, a video game, and the topic of this video, a movie. Unfortunately, this is an instance where giving a show a movie wasn't a good idea and how it fails as a film. So, some context. Gumby is a character created in 1953 by Art Clokey that would first appear in segments of Howdy Doody, and would later go on to become its own series. The series follows Gumby going on various adventures alongside his friends through fictional and historical environments. So how did this movie come to be? The film was being produced because of the success of 1988's Gumby Adventures, and the new talent that made the show went on to create the film. Art Clokey, the creator of Gumby, went on to finance the entire film himself at a budget of approximately $3 million, and only had a third of the animators that worked on the show to animate the movie. His desire for the film was to capture the simple charm that was present in the show, and what made the series entertaining for viewers. The film also had trouble getting a company to distribute it. Even though the entire movie was made in 30 months, finished in 1992, and scheduled for a fall release in 1993, it would not be until fall of 1995 when the feature would get distributed by Arrow Releasing Incorporated. After that headache, the film would release on October 4th, 1995. But to say this film bombed is an understatement. Not only was the movie met with negative reviews by critics, it only made over $57,000 in the box office. The factors that are believed to have caused the film's box office failure are the limited theatrical screenings and the lack of advertising for the movie. And even though it did poorly in the box office, the film managed to sell 1 million copies on home video. 2 interesting aspects that I found while doing research for this video include how this wasn't Gumby's first appearance in a film, as 1987's The Puppetoon Movie had both Gumby and Pokey act as hosts for the compilation of George Pell's work from 1943 to 1947. The other fact is that the Gumby movie got released on Blu-ray in 2017 and received quite possibly the worst Blu-ray case I have ever seen. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get into why this film doesn't work. So talking about the plot is important, as it is one of the major problems with this movie. The story is about Gumby and his band getting the funds so the farmers would not lose their farms by loan payments not being met. The loan company that threatens to take away their farms is run by the Blockheads, recurring antagonists from the show. Later on, a concert by Gumby and the Clayboys occurs, and the Blockheads are at the event and notice how Gumby's pet dog cries tears that turn into pearls. The Blockheads take the dog, make a robot clone of it, and try to capture the band members to make robots that play music, make the dog cry, and get rich off of it. So it's up to Gumby and his friends to stop the Blockheads and save the farms. So right off the bat, not only does the film's story feel loosely connected with raising funds and robotic doppelgangers, the film feels like a first draft with how it drags its story out and multiple scenes that are pointless to the overall film. Obvious examples of pointless scenes include the hospital scene, Pokey's character arc, Tara getting Gumby's autograph, Tara and Ginger going into Old MacDonald's farm by accident, and the Clayboys having to get restored to normal. Talking about how the story drags on will need us to recognize something I mentioned earlier in this video, which was that Art Clokey wanted the simple charm of the Gumby series incorporated in the movie. However, what made the simple charm work in the show was not only the characters' personalities, but also the pacing and length of each episode. With each episode being less than 9 minutes long, it allowed for the pacing to be better handled with stories and what happens in each episode. Here, it decides to have a simple story you would find in the show, but does not do a good job with using the runtime to its advantage. Take for instance the scene when the Blockheads make robots of the Clayboys. Instead of capturing all 4 members of the band, they kidnap just the Clayboys and then one of the robots goes for Gumby. Why make 2 trips? This feels like they're adding unnecessary scenes. Other examples include the aforementioned scenes that were pointless, and when Gumby and the Clayboys practice before the concert. Like mentioned before, its simple story ends up getting derailed by the robot plotline and feels more like an afterthought. Of course, a film is going to have stakes, but there's barely any connection with the 2 ideas and nothing interesting related to it happens. In general, the plot ends up feeling like an episode idea turned into a movie and realized it needs some stakes. Talking about the plot does give a good segue into talking about the characters. The cast of Gumby is also interesting, as there is a bit to talk about. Of course, their designs are easily recognizable and distinct from each other, but have simple personalities, like Gumby being friendly and Pokey acting as a foil for Gumby. Bear in mind, these characters were not intended to grow and develop over the course of the show, keeping an emphasis on the simple charm of the show. Simply put, the cast has personalities that allow them to go on adventures and do various things. Now, while that works fine in a show like Gumby, it does not work if it's for a movie that has more story to it than the average episode of the show. Because of Art Clokey choosing to keep the simplicity of the cast, most of the cast does not have any character development, and we don't have much of a reason to be invested in these characters. The only character that has a quote-unquote character arc is Pokey, which is his fear of possibly being replaced as Gumby's friend. This type of character arc could have been interesting, but not only do we not see these two being friends, especially if this film is your introduction to the Gumby series, but this character arc is resolved in the first 20 minutes of the film, making that serve zero purpose. Only returning characters that are notable to mention left are the Blockheads, a bumbling duo that caused problems for Gumby and friends in the show. While I agree with having the Blockheads in an antagonistic role, it would have been better if they were secondary villains, acting as the bumbling henchman duo to the main antagonist. These two aren't threatening in any way, nor do any of their jokes land. The Gumby robot felt more of a villain than the Blockheads did. Now that I've covered the original cast, let's go over the new characters introduced here. Out of all the new characters here, Tara is the best. Funnily enough, she ends up more of a major character than Pokey with how she affects the story. Plus, she's one of the few characters from the movie to return in later Gumby media. New to Gumby's pet friends is Lowbelly, a dog that rides a skateboard and cries tears of pearls if Gumby changes his shape. He's fine, and I don't have much I could say about him. Ginger and Lucky are just okay, not much to say about them as well. But I cannot see the purpose of the Clayboys. What can you tell me about the Clayboys that make them worthwhile additions to the Gumby cast? Gumby already had band members in the show with Pokey, Prickle, and Goo. Even has Minga, Tilly, and Denali, who are barely in this movie. They don't do anything outside of playing their instruments and have no personality to them. I guess No Buckle sleeps, but that's literally it. Only reason I could think of is merch reasons, but this trio barely has anything going off of what I found, like these figures by Trendmasters and these minifigures by Kubrick. Also, why do they have toes? The last aspect I need to mention relating to the cast is the voice acting. I'd say it's overall fine. Since most of the voice actors are the same as in the show, their performances here are fine here as they were in the show. Same with the new characters. Dallas McKennon, who voiced Gumby and Professor Cap in the show, did a good job at voicing Fat Buckle, No Buckle, and Lucky. Manny LaCaruba as Thin Buckle also sounds good. Same with Patty Morse as Tara, and Alice Young as Ginger. The voice acting fits with the characters, albeit mostly with their appearances, and sound like voices that would have been present in the show. Before I talk about the animation, I want to highlight how the characters are kinda dumb here.
Nuts. I thought he wanted to land here.
Gumby, why didn't you tell Pokey where you were going? How did you not notice it's just a J Blockhead wearing a hat? Why would you leave Gumby's instrument, the same one that has a case with their band logo, near what's basically the front door of your base? I get the Blockheads are numbskulls, but come on.
No, will you?
How did you forget about the Blockheads trying to break free and leaving them alone? Furthermore, how did you forget about the Gumby robots still being around the farm?
I got. But last week, some baron started a war, and the local knights cleaned me out of swords, and I'm back-ordered for several days.
Wait, you can make a unique set of armor, but you can't make one sword?
Electric sparks, shorting out.
Of course! Why didn't I think of that before?
So you go with spraying water on the robot, but not cut it down to pieces with the beam sword? In fact, now that I think about it, most of this film happened solely because of the stupidity of the main characters. Animation is probably the best aspect of this film. It doesn't exactly look the greatest with the noticeable imperfections of the cast, but it isn't hideous. I would say the character movement is fine since it stays true to the animation style of the show and gets the job done with expressing its characters through movement. Though it doesn't help its case since 1 year after the film finished production, The Nightmare Before Christmas would release in theaters and show how great stop motion films can look and animate. Then again, what would you expect from a film that had approximately 1/8 of the budget Nightmare Before Christmas had? While rewatching the film multiple times, I noticed a couple goofs I'm surprised weren't edited out. I already pointed out how the robot Thimbuckle's eyebrows would appear then disappear, but there was also an animator's shirt appearing in the black screen in this shot, the beam sword clipping through his computer screen, and this piece of equipment going hardcore during the music video. Now we reach the climax and the resolution and finish this movie. The final fight against the Gumby robot commences, and it's not that good. I like how it incorporates not just the toy store, but also the settings of Knights of the Round Table and that Star Wars parody into its climax. I just wish we saw more of the hopping through book worlds in the film. I would say the biggest issue with the climax is Gumby himself, not because of his character, but because of one trait of his that's seen in the Knights of the Round Table scene. He can get sliced into pieces and still be fine. Because of that, it ends up dragging out the climax and there's no tension since we know Gumby will be fine and is solely to lure the robot into a certain spot. Wait, is that the Imperial Godzilla figure?
There he is!
Anyways, the robots are destroyed and the blockheads are dealt with. After all that, they shoot the music video and it's my favorite scene in this movie. The song is nice and the animation is mostly good. The music video allowed for some enjoyment as a simple stop motion clip and I can appreciate it for that. We see Gumby and everyone else celebrating on raising the funds, and Gumby and Pokey morph into clay slabs, ending Gumby the movie. Gumby the movie is an example of taking a television series and making a movie of it, not understanding how or why the show worked and incorporating those elements into the film without considering issues that would have arisen. It is a shame since I could see a Gumby movie working, but we did not get that and it's unknown if we'll ever get another feature film. But where does that leave the Gumby series after the movie? Of course, the film would receive a home video release in various formats. In 2005, the series received a video game called Gumby vs. the Astrobots on the Game Boy Advance. I would like to cover this game on the channel, but that won't be for a little while. 2006 and 2017 would give us comic books of the franchise. And as of February of 2022, it was announced that Fox Entertainment owns the rights to the Gumby property. They plan to create a new series released on both linear and digital platforms, so hopefully this entails the return of our favorite cast in stop motion glory on the screen again. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.